Uh, Good morning, YouTube. Hope you guys had a good Christmas, Thanksgiving, holiday season. I'm here. I'm going to do a story time. I'm going to do it a little different. My take on a story time because I'm a writer, and and I just want to read some stories I've written. I write primarily fiction. I wrote one nonfiction book. I wrote primarily fiction. Well, in those stories, there are many smaller stories. Some things go chapter, half a chapter, but something I kind of always wanted to do. So I want to see how this works. So I'm going to be reading, and let's not despise stories. Remember, our Christ the Lord, spoke in parables. So he would take stories that weren't necessarily true stories, but they had meaning in the story. So the story was valuable. So let's not despise the art of story. Anyway, I want to read a little bit from my book. This is from Love and Gospel Music. This was the first book in this series, Love and Gospel Music series. I think I may be ending that series now. I've written 4 books in the series, and I'm just I don't know if I've written the story out now or kind of I feel like I finished it. I'm not sure, but I think my next book is going to be um, a standalone story that has nothing to do with the series. So I'm still trying to put together what that's going to be about. But this is a great series, and this is one story in that series. So it's not very long. I mean, if it gets too long, I do it in 2 parts. So anyway, this is from Love and Gospel Music. What's wrong with telling the damn truth? There's a subtitle. Came out about 10 years ago. All right. So my primary character is Dwayne Brown, right? So he wrote this novel is written in large part by journal entries. So this is chapter 3 of Love and Gospel Music. Uh, it's called The Death of Benny. October 3rd, 1975. Oh Lord, life is moving too fast for me right now. If only you slow it down. If you don't slow it down, I don't see how I'll ever make it through these monstrous times. No, that doesn't mean I'm have any intention of hurting myself, Father. I count it a major blessing that my mind doesn't go to so dark a place. I only wish that the same were true for Benny. Okay, so this is a journal entry of Dwayne Brown's. Benny was Reverend Nicholas. Benny was Reverend Nicholas's middle son and my only true friend. They found him hanging from a bridge over a freeway this morning. He was 17 years old. Oh God, what a horrible day this is. What a miserable, awful, horrible day I have woken up to this morning. How could this have happened, Lord? Why? Why did it have to happen? He was only a kid. Surely there was another way for this awful story to end. Of course, the whole truth hasn't come out yet. I wouldn't be surprised if there weren't still investigators over at the site where they found him. But the bridge is only where this nightmare came to an head. A few of us know where it began. Of course, there's Terry Baxter and me, and I guess that all of Benny's family knows. How could they not know with all the yelling and fighting that's been going on over at the Nicholas's house for the past 3 weeks? I told him not to tell, Lord. You know how many times I pleaded, even begged him not to tell. I knew there would be trouble, but I never dreamed it would come to this. You're making way too big a deal out of this, Dwayne, he said. Sure, my dad will be upset at first, but he'll come around. He's a good man, Dwayne. You don't know him like I do. But what if he doesn't come around, Benny? I said. What if he flips completely out on you after it's been said you can never take it back, and he'd never believe you even if you tried? I could see he wasn't convinced, so I went on. And what if we're wrong, Benny? What if the church is right about this thing? What if we're not different at all? How can you be so sure that this is not just some teenage phase we're going through. Don't be ridiculous, Dwayne. Teenagers don't just wake up one morning and decide they want to stick their tongue down their homeboy's throat. Uh, I still say that it's way too soon to be calling yourself that, much less telling your father, the pastor, that that's what you are. You haven't even done anything yet. That's not the point, he screamed. Then what exactly is the point? The point is that I'm not going to sit up in that church another day and listen to my father demonize and tear down gay people whenever the mood strikes him. We are human beings, Dwayne. We deserve to be respected. Don't you see that, buddy? Can you imagine what this constant badgering and belittling must be doing to our insides? Well, I said sheepishly, you know what the Bible says. Yes, I do know what the Bible says, he exploded. I was born with my face in the Bible. Why don't you do yourself a favor, Dwayne Brown, and actually read it yourself? Why don't you try to take into account the context in which it was written? You don't just take an ancient group of books that's been thousands of years old, that's been translated multiple times by multiple groups of heterosexual people for heterosexual people, and read it like it's a recipe you got out of this morning's newspaper. I do read the Bible, Vinny. I wish you wouldn't attack my faith just because you're having problems with your father, or because the word says something that you don't want to hear. What I want to hear is the damn truth, he yelled, almost losing his voice now. What is the truth, Benny? The truth is that the earth is round and not flat. The truth is that rape and murder are wrong. And the truth and for the purposes of this conversation, my brainwashed friend, the truth is that while it is abundantly clear that the overwhelming majority of humans that walk this planet are heterosexual, there are also huge numbers of us that simply are not. I hated it when Benny would start off with the big words and long sentences. I don't know if you made Benny smarter than me, Lord, but he sure read a lot and thought about things a lot more deeply than I do. I think that was the problem with Benny. He just thought too much about everything. Benny actually believed that most of the problems of the world wouldn't be problems at all if people would come together and tell each other their truths. As if racism, classism, homophobia, and all other forms of hatred would just disappear if we could make each other see that it's wrong. My poor friend. Benny was smart with the books, and I have to admit that a lot of his arguments about the way people and things should be did make a lot of sense. But when it came to actual people, my friend Benny was very naive. Even now, as I sit here trying to sort out all that has happened in the last few weeks, I still can't see how Benny could have thought anything good would come out of telling Reverend Nicholas that he was gay. As if the Reverend, with all that he has invested in his religious rhetoric, was going to suddenly halt his assault on homosexuality because his son was gay. What a joke. What a horrible, pathetic, demonic joke this whole thing has been. The residents of hell must have dreamed this one up. How could Benny have been so smart and yet so incredibly dumb at the same time? If Reverend Nicholas was going to try to change anything, it was going to be him. I know that I should be overcome with grief and in tears right now, Lord. It's not like I have a lot of friends. But in truth, the only emotion that overwhelms me right now is anger. I'm so angry right now. I feel like if someone says even one wrong word to me, I'll smash my face right through this window over my desk. Of course, I'm angry at Nicholas. God knows, God only knows what went on in that house last night and in the nights leading up to last night. I saw Benny in the cafeteria yesterday at around noon. He seemed like he was holding up pretty good to me. Of course, I knew that he had been going through hell at home since the night that he told his parents. Maybe I was only kidding myself by choosing to believe that things were starting to calm down. To tell the truth, Lord, Benny had said very little about what was going on. In fact, every time I saw him, he seemed to want to talk about it less and less. Oh God, I should have known that there was something wrong with him. They show us movies about teenage suicide every year in the gym. Why didn't I see this coming? Why didn't I ask more questions? Why didn't I do something? I'm also mad at my school and especially at my church. Where was Benny supposed to get help dealing with something like this? As if just being a teenager wasn't already hard enough. I tried talking to his parents about it. Obviously, that was a great, big, beautiful success. Of course, with Benny's father being the pastor, he wasn't likely to start talk to anyone there. But I can't help but think that if there was some ministry, some counseling center, some something somewhere for people like us, then maybe this kind of horror wouldn't have to happen. Oh God, why couldn't my friend just have accepted that this is a heterosexual world we were born into? All he had to do was wait until we were old enough to leave it. Just a few more months, and me, Benny, and Terry Baxter would have been off to see the wizard. In fact, that was the plan, and that brings me to the core of what overwhelms me, God. God, I am so irrationally angry with that dead kid. I want to pull Benny off that stretcher down at the morgue and beat the shit out of him. Oh God, please help me to defeat this evil. I shouldn't be feeling this way. He was my friend, my best friend, and closest ally. And yet I do feel this way. Benny stirred up this hell. We were supposed to do we were supposed to be in this together. We were supposed to wait. He broke the damn covenant. Okay, so that was all a journal entry starting in chapter 3. There's going to be two parts to this. I'm not going to belabor you. So when I pick it up, then I'll do the next journal entry, and that'll be Benny's story. Okay, so you like it? I tried it to in this first book. It kind of goes between fiction and real events, actual things that have happened, and so I'm not going to necessarily say which things are real, which things are totally fictional. And I also at some point be reading from my nonfiction books. So you figure it out. I hope you like the story. All right, we'll see how it goes.